Hello and welcome to the next episode of the New Earth Architectress podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me who's going to talk about the potential and power of spiritual architecture, both in practice and in education, through his science-backed research. He's a professor emeritus at the Catholic University of America, and his work explores the relationship between architecture, culture, and spirituality through phenomenology and neuroscientific approaches. He's also the president of the Architecture, Culture, and Spirituality Forum. All you women architects or men architects or whatever architects need to know about this forum. And they are doing incredible work. So we're going to hear about that today. And also he is an author of 3 books on architecture and spirituality, 2 of which are Transcending Architecture and Spirituality in Architectural Education. I'm so delighted and honored to welcome Julio Bermudez to our space. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. I look forward to have this conversation. I heard about you and your audience, and I'm very happy to share whatever little I know with you all.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Julio. I'm excited to dive in with you today. So, Julio, can you share for the audience members who don't know who you are, what you're up to, what you've been creating, what you've been studying in the realm of spiritual architecture? How did you enter into this area, this particular area in architecture education? I'd love to hear a little bit about your story.
Well, this is very personal. I think anything that is spiritually bound is very personal. And it's not an egocentric pursuit, but it's something that when you experience something that is transcendental, you realize it's not about you, it's about this larger community or being. So all it started in about second year architecture school when I was so in love with architecture. I call lady architecture because I'm male, right? And I would just give myself to her completely night on and, no sleeping and so on. But I would never could have a profound experience with a building. I could have experiences that are profound with music, with the film, with sports, of course, with sex. But I could never have a profound experience with lady architecture, even though I love her so much. And so I tried to go and have these experiences with buildings in Argentina, from Argentina. And I would visit buildings they were good, but I could never get this incredible sense of awe and beauty with architecture. So for the next 15 years, I was basically seeking her, and she always say no, right? I could never really get a oneness with her. So I felt very, very, very frustrated, and I felt that something was wrong with me. At the same time, nobody talked about this. There was no professor, no professional, nobody in the academic or practicing architecture that would talk about these profound moments of architecture. They would talk, the Parthenon is great, or Hagia Sophia is great, is beautiful, but they would never say, I have this incredible moment of connection with something larger. But you read Le Corbusier stuff, and you saw there was something there, but nobody would talk about it. So anyway, so I came to America to do my master's because I feel like I was not prepared enough to encounter her. So it's a very personal thing. And even in America, I found the same thing, even more so. I mean, the Anglo-Saxon, is very, very Puritan. You don't talk about stuff like this. You don't talk about romantic relationship or the bank account in America. You just don't talk about that. It's your personal thing. I don't want to hear it. So again, it was very frustrated, and I would go to this famous building now because, I was in the US. I could go see buildings that are supposedly amazing, which they were, but I could never get personal with this lady architecture until I had this profound experience, unexpected. And in Orlando, Florida in 1992, 15 years after my journey began. And I as I said to people, I never cry as much as that day. No crying out of sadness, but this joy, this long sought after experience of beauty and grace. Really is grace. You don't fabricate gods or whatever you believe, give it to you. You if you are prepared, happen. But anyway, after that, I was at peace finally, because until then I felt like a fake. um, so then of course, I was finishing my PhD. I need to get a job. So I cannot not forget, but I put it aside. And then after I got in my tenure in America, I decided this is the most important thing. I really need to look into this. So the question is, well, what I'm going to do? I'm going to look at testimonies. Who says anything about this in the past? I'll go through the English and Spanish, which is my two languages, and you couldn't find anything. I mean, there was no record that immediately you could get. So after 10 years of looking, I found 4 or 5 records of people coming forward and saying something about it, and be written, right? Their name was attached to it. So it's a commitment.
Right.
And still, I mean, you could argue that the most important, profound function of architecture is, at least arguable, is to create these moments, right? And of course, sacred architecture has always done that. That's the purpose of sacred architecture, to connect you to something larger than you are, to Allah, or to Christ, or Buddha, or whatever. Uh, but but again, no, there's nobody saying anything. It said, like, I like that the church and I felt good, but how, what? So I conducted this, no testimony. So I'm going to do a survey. So I do a big survey, a survey of about 3,000 people, and I got some huge amount of data from all over the world, mostly the English and Spanish speaker. But I mean, 3,000 enough with statistic evidence, and I got that whole conversation that we could have about what people said these experiences are like. And I call it extraordinary architecture experiences. I didn't want to put it as spiritual or sacred or anything. I want to people to say what they had. Nobody.
Right. Just like neutral, enter in. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an external experience of architecture defined as something that profoundly changed or altered your ordinary state of mind or your perspective on life? It could be a sacred building. It could be a ruin. It had to be building. It couldn't be nature, right? Nature is more normal. People are more okay saying that I go to the Grand Canyon and I have profound experience, or I saw the ocean. But with architecture was not. So I did that survey and get really good result, good publication, everything. But still, as I talk to some people, they just roll their eyes. Well, survey, it's just, I don't know. I don't believe it anyway. So, then the whole revolution in neuroscience, of course, was brewing, right? From about the mid 90s on. And by the time I finished my survey, which was 2009 or 10, I mean, it was everywhere. Contemplation and meditation and fMRIs. I'm sure you remember that. It was very hot back then. It was like, oh, something really is happening in the brain. I mean, this is
Right.
It's in Tibetan people that have 40,000 hours of meditation.
Right.
When
And
they go
sound
meditation,
frequencies and the prayers and the mantras, right? Yeah. And
yeah, and they did Catholic prayer. They did mantras. They did breath work, and then they did ordinary people that are not trained, people that are train for a month, and then the super Olympians, meditators that are, have 40 years of work. And there is all this kind of neurological activity and signatures that certainly something is profoundly happening. And then later on the body too. It's not just your brain; it's the whole body. The whole body enters that process, which again, that's a whole conversation. But anyway, so I say, well, what about if I apply for a grant and look at what happened in the brain? So I was lucky to get a grant, and I did a study in fMRI on contemplative architecture. So there is that whole conversation.
Wow.
What I found, which is remarkable, is absolutely remarkable. Remarkable. It's contemplative architecture, in which beauty is non-judgmental, right? It is, when you contemplate it, you don't have a judgmental perspective. You're open to it. Where a lot of work in neuroscience in beauty is judgmental. They say it's good, is bad. I like it, don't like it, ugly. So it's when you enter judgment, the brain operates different than when you say I'm open, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
so anyway,
It's a contemplative state. It's a different quality.
absolutely. And that's also hard to get in, right? Those of us that have meditated or contemplated or prayer, really, in which you really focus on what you're doing, you know how hard it is to get into the state. What we found, of course, is that you could get to the same states as deep, as powerful without effort, which is incredible, right? It takes a lot of effort to get into those states, even for,
Hey, this is Aisha popping in here to let you know about my free webinar. This is where you're going to discover how to unlock your spirit architect mastery, and it's going to support you to magnetize amazing clients who love paying you top dollar for your intuitive gifts. You're going to magnetize soul liberating health and overflowing creativity, birthing the sanctuaries of our new earth. I also offer an exclusive resource that I don't share publicly. This is the Sacred Blueprint Sweet Spot Profit Map. This is where you're going to gain tools that are going to support you to ditch the depletion of conventional practice in order to build a prospering architecture practice bridging spirit with form. So make sure you sign up below for your free access, and on with the interview.
But here the beauty was so powerful that the attraction was so much that there was no effort in focusing. When you work in a mantra, you really sit down in your cushion or your pew or whatever you are, on your knees, and you just have to close your eyes, whatever you do, and then you have to keep bringing yourself into the practice, right?
Right.
And
right.
the mind goes, like the mind wandering, and you have to bring it back. So it's a lot of work in the frontal lobe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And well, here you have it. No, almost no effort. And I mean, if you hear it, it makes sense, right? But again, nobody has thought about this. So there is a whole conversation on that one.
Right. So when you say no effort, because at that point, then you start to look at, study contemplative architecture. What is it, right? Describe it, bring it to words, bring it a certain language.
No, we show people the images. We put people in an fMRI, and again, I can show you images if you want.
Yeah, it'd be great, actually. So yeah, can you share a little bit with the audience what an fMRI is? So
yeah, let me show you here.
They understand the mechanics.
Yeah, let me show you here. Okay. Let's see, share the screen here.
Okay, great. Right, I see.
Can you see it?
Yep, you can see it. I can see it. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so beautiful, great.
Wow, the Sagrada Familia, right?
Yeah, we just had the 144th year. Did you see that, Julio?
Yes.
They finished the Sagrada Familia. It's huge.
In my survey, it's a top ranked building that produced the effects, by the way.
Well, that's what I thought. I presumed that's one of the top that came through, right? In your survey. Okay. Yeah. So share.
So this is the fMRI.
Yeah.
And basically, this machine I produced 1 million times the magnetic field of the planet Earth. So basically, measure the oxygen in your blood, because the oxygen has iron, because that's what's red, right? So you can measure where the blood goes in your brain as you perform any activity. And then basically we show images of buildings. These are the buildings. We ordinary buildings in the top, just office building, a shopping mall, a high school, a house. And then on the bottom you see the 5 buildings we show. It was the Pantheon, the Chartres Cathedral, Ronchamp, the Alhambra, and the Salk Institute. And we did that. And that basically produced this result that are all statistic significance, less anxiety, less mind wandering. And there is, again, there is a lot of, but what most people are interested is in the result of the fMRI. In this case, for instance, is what is common to all the experiences of architecture, whether it's sacred or secular, is the body, is the you see here, I don't know if you see my cursor. This is the occipital. This is the occipital lobe, which is where the center of the back here too is the sight. And then the other one that you see, which you see more in the in the experiment, in this contemplative here, is you see here, you see up here, you see a little bit up here, that's more amygdala, is the embodiment. So if is the body, movement, and sight. That's the most prevalent qualitative operation of the brain. And then the other thing which is very different is between what happened in the parietal lobe, which is the center of integrating all the senses in the brain. It's just above your ears. You could see that when you do the difference between the brains under ordinary states of architecture and the brain under contemplative state of architecture, the inferior parietal lobe is the one that is active. And again, this is very, very known that it has an aesthetic quality because the integration of senses is an aesthetic state. And this is perhaps one of the most powerful, is that during the looking at ordinary architecture, the frontal lobe is very active. Whereas looking at contemplative architecture, the frontal lobe, you could see there, is by and large shut down, is not active.
Right.
That's profound. Because, in the West, we are told that we are our frontal lobe, thought, analysis,
Right.
self-narrative, and so on, right? Ego is all about in the frontal lobe here, what we think is what makes us human, different than anybody else. But when you are in a profound meditative state or prayer, you realize that it's not you there, right? There is a sense of oceanic oneness of some sort. Well, here people have that quality to it. And this is the other one I was going to tell you. You see here the orbitofrontal cortex here. It's just behind your eyes. Some people call it the third eye, right? So when you are analyzing or judging, that's very heavy load frontal lobe activities. That's what happened. Look at that happened with ordinary architecture, but not with experimental, with the contemplative architecture.
It just isn't there. Like I can't. Oh, I see.
No, it's not there. It's not there. They didn't use it. They didn't use it.
Yeah.
And the last one, which is I'm going really quick here, but this is the what we did. We have these 12 subjects that did the study. We ranked them according to the depth of experience. The deeper the experience, we put it here, and on the right side, and the least profound on the left, and align them. And then we did a regression analysis using the data of the fMRI, the brain data. And what we found, and this is maybe the most important finding of all, is that the deeper the experience of architecture, contemplative architecture, the more shut down the brain got. And you can see the top is this is the areas that have been basically activation increased. So the more deep experiences, the more the experiences of here you have it, the occipital lobe, the presental gyrus is the body, the frontal gyrus that is behind, and then the superior frontal lobe. But in the negative, which I think is more in person, the more the experience of architecture, contemplative architecture, the less activation of all these areas of the frontal brain. So in reality, when you look at how much of the brain, look at the number of areas that are being shut down, right? Basically, the brain becomes silent.
Wow.
Except for a few areas. Yeah. And that's very much alike what you see in other experiences. This is a little bit, we see that some of the experiences, for instance, is called the flow state. I'm sure you have heard of it. In the psychology, for instance, when athletes go into amazing performance, they're in the state of
like that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So or play piano, you're not thinking, you're completely one with activity.
Yeah.
If there is no enough
if you're
bandwidth,
overthinking it, it won't flow. It won't.
Correct.
Flow.
I mean, we all of us have that experience, So there is that. The same with there is all the study in neuroscience, in yoga, and Tibetan visualization or Buddhist visualization. That's very much the same thing. The shutdown of major area of the brain that are related to ego and frontal lobe. Also very much with psychedelics.
Yeah.
And I mean, all these are spiritual mystical states that are very much alike with profound aesthetic states. So,
Mhm.
so basically, that's the story, really.
Yeah, incredible. So I want to ask you, Julio, um, if you feel complete, okay, with that's amazing, the studies.
Yeah.
I want to ask you just the practical logistics of it. So did you work like, so if you were to study my brain when I'm entering the Sagrada Familia, for example, or like a Shinto temple in Japan or something, uh, am I walking in with things stuck like on my head? Or how are you measuring actually? How are you? Because you showed me the fMRI machine, but like I should be in the building, right? How did it? Yeah,
Well,
could you
no. Okay, so there are two
explain that?
ways of it. As 2026, it's kind of science fiction. 2026.
Um,
As of 2026, there are only two ways to measure the brain's activity. There's only two ways, right? One is no moving the brain, the head, like fMRI or CT scans, in which, if you have a problem in the brain or something, with the doctor or this hospital to do a scan, right? You
right.
cannot move the brain, because if you move it like that, it's totally screwed up, right? So they have to, if you look at the original image I sent you, they keep your head like that, very claustrophobic. You cannot move. And basically you're showing images or videos or whatever, and you see that. And then what
I
what
see.
what that allows you to do is have incredible level of precision where the brain blood is going in the brain. And the assumption here, which has been challenged but so far it survives scientific skepticism, is that where the blood goes is where the activity in the brain is.
Right.
So like, if I move this, there is a lot of blood going here, because oxygen is necessary to move my hand, right?
Okay.
Um,
So you're showing images then while you're in. Okay.
correct.
So
And
you're
these
not, I thought
images
like
go
people would
from
go.
you go
Okay.
from the
Wow.
outside to the
Even the
inside
power
of
of
the
images. Yeah.
They are very powerful images from the outside to the inside of the building. There are 5 images, and
Right.
they go one blend into, and there is a blank space, and there is another one, a blank space, and then the whole set of ordinary
Incredible.
buildings come first, and the other one. So now, of course, it's an artificial construct. We don't experience architecture like that. But that's what we could do today, right? It's like,
But
this is what we
but
do.
even that, right, is a testament. It's a
Even that, right?
demonstration. Even just the image of the building is creating this
Well, yeah, and I think we know now, for
response.
instance, that because of the mirror neurons, when you see, for instance, when you see playing basketball, there's a whole study on this, and you see people jumping, part of your brain activates the same way that it would do if you were jumping, right? Um,
Right.
there is
Right.
a lot of that. So, and then it's also, there is a whole conversation. It's called affordances. I don't know if you heard of affordances.
No, I
Affordances
don't know.
is an ecological term developed in the 70s and 80s by
Okay.
these guys, but now has been basically very much in the conversation on neuroscience, and especially in architecture. Basically, a building affords certain things. Like, if you see stairs, it's to go up. Like, there is a door is to open. There is a big space, is affordance of movement. There is
Right.
a lot high elevation, is a sense of expansion, right? Now,
Right.
this happens at a preconscious level. You're not thinking, oh, there is a stair, I'm going to go up. It comes, but immediately, the first few seconds, is completely unconscious. So when you look at, let's say, at the Pantheon, looking at the Oculus, the eye goes up. It is just, it's an affordance that happens. So it's not perfect, because, of course, you have to be in the building, but you can't use, if you want to have that level of scrutiny inside the brain. So that's
Yeah.
one way of measuring the brain. The second measure of the brain is, which I have done, which again I could share if you're interested, is using mobile electroencephalography, EEG. In that case, and I can show you if you want, there is this almost exoskeleton you put on. It has different location on the brain, on the scalp, that is measuring the electric activity of the brain. It cannot see past a few millimeters below the skull, so you cannot go deep into the amygdala, or you cannot have the level of precision that the fMRI, but it can record what the electrical activity of the brain. And one way of thinking of the brain is, because it's 100 billion neurons. That's the neurons, and I think it's 1 trillion connections. Imagine because neurons are connected to each other.
It's incredible.
It's the most complex thing we know, except for the galaxies and stuff like that. So basically what's happening, like the occipital lobe, which we saw, is talking, is delivering some sort of information, but it goes to the parietal lobe that integrates it, and then I'm thinking about, I like this. All this happening at the same time. Now, the way that it happens, of course, the synapses move, but basically that generates an electric activity. So in a way of thinking, I think it's a radio transmission, right? So you have 5 different bands of activity: alpha, beta, theta, delta, and gamma, whatever. And so you could measure what's happening in the alpha band. Is anybody talking there? And now, because we have been knowing EEG since the early 20th century until now, we know more or less what these bands do. Like, for instance, alpha is very associated with contemplative states. We know that. Beta bands are related to ordinary state of mind wandering, like ordinary state of awakeness, and so on and so forth. So when you go and measure this stuff, nobody has done this in architecture. This is the first time I can show you that this has been done in architecture. It has never done before. So you can say, we found, for instance, that gamma band is really important. Blah. Now we go back. What gamma does, or what delta does? It does that in a laboratory. Now, nobody has done in the field, so there is a little bit of a translation issue, but nonetheless. So that's the other option. You lose precision in terms of what part of the brains are being active,
right?
But you gain on the fact that you are in reality, right? And you see what the conversation of the brain is.
Right. Yeah, and if you how it's responding to these spaces. Yeah, incredible.
And if you add to that, which we did, biometric measurement, like we put a very high-end biometric band, physiologically measuring the activity, like blood pressure, heart rate, temperature, blah 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 blah. And you could be what is the state of the body? Like, is it excited? Heart rate goes up. Is it relaxed? Heart rate like blood pressure stop? Is it that?
Right.
Is it moving fast? Is it moving slow? Is temperature going up? Is not going up? Is electric activity of the skin, is emotional turn on? Is it off? So it's still basic. I mean, from 20 years from now, they're going to look at what we did as is kind of laughable. But right now, compared to 20 years ago, this is breakthroughs. This is amazing, right?
Well, I think, I absolutely. And it's great that you've taken this bold leap to enter into this realm of, I'm going to try, I'm going to study this, I'm going to investigate, and all in the name of finding your connection with lady architecture, right? And discovering her, and she's a mystery, right? This is
a big mystery.
Something that I share with my clients who are women architects, and I've shared briefly with you earlier, Julio, that I guide my clients to unleash their intuitive powers and really step into these contemplative states, step into these meditative states, step into sometimes even trance states to really access higher truths about really important keys and codes for the architecture of our future, actually, and tapping ancient wisdom. And actually, when you were talking, Julio, I was wondering, also listening to these incredible studies about the brain, and I'm like, it'd be so cool if Julio came and measured the power spots that we have discovered in Ephesus. I take the women architects on these amazing retreats at the ancient city of Ephesus, and we go to the temple of Artemis. And I know there's several Artemis temples, but we are at the Ephesian Artemis temple, which is very different compared to the other temples, Artemis temples. the Ephesian Artemis is different than the Artemis with the bow and arrow. She's a very interesting being, and there's nothing there, Julio, left except for like a column which they tried to just put together, and the foundations are there, the layers of.
I've been there.
Have you been there?
Yes, I've been to Ephesus. I've been there.
It's one of the most powerful places in terms of energy. Did you feel the energy there when you were there?
I didn't, to be frank with you.
Okay.
But I mean, I was impressed. I mean, they cannibalize all the columns. The columns are famous. Those columns are taken away. I heard maybe some are in Hagia Sophia. I don't know.
Some are in Hagia Sophia, some are right, and this is a very powerful place too. Right next door, actually, is St. John's Basilica. It's one of the most beautiful spaces. This is John. Oh, I always forget John the Baptist or John the Apostle, but it's said that he came to Ephesus with Mary to hide after the crucifixion.
Yeah, I remember. And the Mary's
powerful stuff.
Mary's there too. I did a pilgrimage there. But I totally believe that. I mean, I have an experience like the one. The reason I was not moved because I was not ready. I agree with you. There is a subtlety and a receptive quality, which I think, again, I don't want to fall into stereotypical difference between men and women or male and female, but there is some truth to it, I believe, and there is a sense of receptivity and openness and that is a feminine quality that is more prevalent in women than in men. That I think if you go with that attitude, grace is more open to you than you're not. And probably that day I was in a very kind of, I want to see this, I want to see that, and I didn't.
Could be, and often if you're with a tour, Julio, or
yeah,
if
it's
you're
hard.
With a group of people, it's really challenging
Very
because
hard.
what they do is they bring you there, and then they're like, okay, and then chick pictures, and it takes time, right?
Absolutely.
First, you're trying to understand, okay, my environment. Okay, what is this physical quality first, and then to take the next layer deeper and deeper. It really does take time.
Yeah.
So,
and certainly the moment somebody starts explaining the place, it kills it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're listening to the tour guide and not to the place. I try to avoid all those, but sometimes you can. The only way to enter a place is with these guides.
Yeah, that is totally my style, and you've captured something very important, Julio, is that that you can really kill the experience, someone's experience of a space when you over describe it or try to explain it. Or you can always look up the history or the story a little bit later, but first to really just be there, right?
Yes.
Be there.
And I think if you look at what I just showed you, the brain is the moment you turn this on, you lose the experience.
Right.
Because that's what they want
the brain starts to try to
understand,
understand,
which is basically try to possess or to conquer rather than being with.
Yeah, that's really profound. And you were talking about the oceanic quality, right? That you.
Yes.
It's interesting, actually. You just awarded James Turrell as it's amazing. I love his work. I saw on LinkedIn that you guys awarded him, and when I experienced his work, I was fortunate enough to be able to have experienced his work live. It really does.
Where you have that experience?
Produce that oceanic quality that you're talking about, Julio.
Where you have that experience?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what building?
I traveled quite a bit, and I worked in different places. Was there an installation in Berlin, in Germany?
It's possible. I mean, he has many. My experience with him.
I lived there for a while. Yeah,
he has many. The one I had a profound experience was in Jerusalem. He has the space that sees is one of the sky spaces, that is on top. And there is one in San Francisco, which I just learned about a month ago. There is one here, which is, I live in San Francisco. It's so stupid. I mean, how come I didn't know? But I will just go and see. I saw a few other ones in Minnesota. There is one in Argentina even. But there's a few in Europe. Not too many, but I mean, James Turrell's work, frankly, the reason we never offered it to him before not because he didn't deserve it, really, because we thought he would never accept it. I mean, he's a famous guy. My group is a small, humble, 1,000 members, and we nominated him, and we voted, and he won, and we thought he would never say yes. I mean, imagine that, right? Who are we?
There's the receiving end if you're a big artist and fame. Wow.
Yeah, so we contacted him.
Congratulations.
It was hard to get a hold of him. Very hard to get a hold of him. He's doing this the Rodin Crater. I don't know if you know that project in.
No, I would love, now that I saw, because it's been years.
Well, check the Rodin Crater. Your people should look at it. He basically has been working for 40 years. He bought this volcano in Arizona, northern Arizona, and he's terraforming it, literally for 40 years. And there's a lot of work already been done. I mean, 40 years. And I tried to sneak in, and couldn't make it.
Wow.
But anyway, so when he said yes, and he was honored, I think, in fact, he basically justified that we have something to say, because somebody like this say yes, it's worth it. It means that we're doing
your work.
our work is somewhat meaningful, right? At least.
That's amazing. Congratulations to both.
Thank you.
Yeah. For our audience members who don't know who James Turrell is, look him up. He's an installation artist, site-specific, space-specific, and he creates these incredible installations with light and color. So, check him out. So,
by the way, can you hear me? There's something that went on. Can you hear me well? No problem?
I can hear you. Yeah. So it's probably cutting out. Yeah. There's nothing.
Fine.
Yeah. So you've studied, you've created all these incredible studies about, how space affects our body, how space affects our brain. How has it supported education? Is in, architecture education, particularly around the impact of spiritual architecture. Before you answer, I just want to share, just as an architect myself, that I think part of the reason why I was so depleted coming out of school and, taking quite a bit of time to really find my true calling is that we didn't have enough of the energy aspect, the spiritual aspect in architecture. I found my way. I found the books. I discovered Rudolf Steiner as a huge teacher for me, of mine, as well as a couple professors who, one of them, Andrew Levitt, may he rest in peace, he really spoke the language of spirit. But other than that, not so much. So, I'd love to hear how you've perhaps been shaking up the architecture field and practice through your.
Well, I mean, I think in a way it goes back to my own professional education, like yours, right? We have this how we become a professional, right? And the way that we understand professionalism, at least in most of the world, is a technical competency framed by cultural, economic forces, right? Functional forces. And modernity hasn't helped very much either, right? In general, modernity. Of course, there is modern people and modern people, but modernity as an overall, and post-modernity has done very little. So there is the ancient, which take care about beauty and awe, but of course was in the hands of very few people, and it was controlling. It was very, very negative. Of course, we enjoy the works of it, but we did not last for a day living under the oppression of the
oppression of certain rulers.
So modernity came with a cost in terms of this qualitative dimension, but it comes with the democratization and access and health and the democratization of access, right? But we pay a price which lost the soul in a way.
Right.
So
ornament is crime, right? What was it? Adolf Loos?
Punishing crime, yeah. So in our universities, and this is around at this point all around the world, you and I travel quite often. I mean, South America, I've been everywhere. Europe, I've been many places. I mean, in School of Architecture, I'm talking about. In the US, I know. In Canada, I know most schools. And I've been to several so I was in India, I was seeing that, and in Japan and other places. So I've seen enough to make a larger claim, but basically it's the same thing everywhere. I mean, slightly different culturally, but in the end, this pushing forward this professionalist idea of designing functionalist, constructive type of places where, and if qualitative is related, it's more about compositionally formalist. It's not experiential. It's not phenomenological, they call it. And if it's meaningful, symbolic, is literal. It's literally symbolic. Okay, you design a mosque, then you put a couple of things that are a mosque, but there is no soul to it.
Essence, soul.
There's no essence.
Substance.
It's just repeating, cut and paste, right?
Right.
So
we have a lot of mosques like that here. My dream is to design a
everywhere.
Mosque.
Churches.
Yeah.
I mean, they just built one. We were just visiting in Seattle. This beautiful Hindu temple, but it's an exact replica of one in India. It's exactly the same.
Right.
Maybe 100 years has some soul, but right now you could see that just a replica. I mean, there's no
copy paste.
But anyway, so the way I started this, one was like, there are many entries. One is that to profess something is not just competency that is technical, but it's also to believe something. That's the word professing comes from the Latin root to profess, right? Which means that you not only need to have competency, but you need to believe on something, stand by something, afford something, risk for something. You profess a religion, you profess a belief, you profess a way of being. So usually that side is forgotten, and that side had to be central. That's one whole conversation. There is a question of vocation. The Sufi have this really beautifully, that, if you forget anything, do not forget what you came here to do, right? There is a great poem by it's a great Sufi master. This idea of vocation, and the Christians also have the idea of vocation. Vocation is, and actually this was brought up by a Hindu. I brought him to Washington, and we worked together the idea of vocation. And he brought the issue of vocation from the Hindu perspective, kind of interesting. And vocation comes from voice, from the Latin, the idea of voice. And there is a voice within. And this voice within is not ego, is it in Buddhism, it's called the true self. The real self, the real Aisha, the real Julio, not the egocentric, the one that want to be famous, got money, whatever, is the true little Julio that is still this beautiful being that we suffocate, we don't let it be. But if you let it, it tells you, Julio, he needs to do that. Let him be there. Don't. So it's the idea of vocation. Of course, you need to listen to the vocation. So you need to be quiet, and create an environment which he or she could come out. So the idea of education, educare, comes the idea of bring forth, bring out. That's where educare comes. Educare is to bring out, not to put in. So how you let her or him get this vocation out? How invite that to come out? Yes, she wants to be a medical doctor. Okay, fine. Let's work on that. But not say, well, you're going to do this, you're going to do that.
Right, so, not forcing as if they're just like an empty container that you just...
put it. Now, of course, we do need to learn, and we need to listen, and we need to take from our elders, which is very compassionate. I mean, we're very lucky. I mean, we have food every day, we have bathrooms, we have health, so we receive a lot of, and we acknowledge this. It's not this teenage revelry, whatever they give me is a piece of crap. No.
Right.
We should be thankful and it's because they give you this amazing capacity, we can afford the conversation. If you are in the middle of prehistoric time where you had to kill a mammoth to eat tomorrow, you cannot afford the conversation of vocation. You just have to eat. But we can. So we should. So there's a whole vocation then. Then this whole other conversation is at that time where people come into college, which is in 18, 20 through 22, 23, 24, the first 4, 5, 6 years after teenage. It's a time that all people of all cultures, if allowed to, aren't necessarily begin to question what have been received. It's a natural human. And it's usually associated with revelry, right? Not that stupid revelry of teenager, which is whatever your parents tell you is wrong, but it's about cultural revelry. Okay. Should I be a Christian? Well, who is Christ? I mean, really, God? Really? And of course, if you're a Christian, you just go insane. So what you can, or if you if you believe that capitalism is the way to go and say, no, it's not. We should give money to everybody because everybody has human dignity. We all have an idealist, right? Idealism is that, well, that's a time that exploration of communal relationship, romantic relationship, all that happened during that time, and it's necessary. And the same way should be with architecture education. We should allow not just the vocation to come out, so these big questions. These questions that actually going to affect all our life. Now, how you create, these are 4 entries, okay? And there are probably a couple more, but these are 4 entries. How the pedagogy allows for this conversation to take place within a 4, 5, 6 years, depends on each program, right? How you allow that? Well, the studio environment is a traditional environment which you have these conversations. So if you pick the right question, the right projects, the right investigations, the exact exploration, we call it, and in the right hands, is the potential are infinite and incredible, right? Now, in the wrong hand is very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous because, here there are souls that are very, easy to manipulate.
There can just be a lot of, mind control, actually.
Yeah. And in some countries, like in the US, and I think France and other places, there is a separation between church and state, which is a good thing. But at the same time, you pay a price for it, which means that you cannot bring the issue of religion in. Because if you bring in, you can get fired or whatever. So, but then there's the spirituals. The people will bring issue of their faith. I was in Utah for a long time. They're Mormons, right? So I bring these conversations, and they come to the topic with their Mormon viewpoint.
Right.
And it's okay. If you were Muslim, you come with the Muslim. If you have and it's okay. You have a conversation. So then a lot of people avoid it because they're scared, and frankly,
absolutely. And also, the word spirituality, even my father, he may rest in peace. He's a very spiritual person, Julio, but even the word would trigger him.
Yes.
Because he associated it with oppressive religion, right?
Yes.
And I'm looking into spiritual architecture, even on YouTube, Julio. When you research spiritual architecture, actually some of your work comes up. But other than that, it's actually more religious architecture.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that religious architecture is bad. I don't have a judgment around that. But what you're talking about, especially with the contemplative, especially with this oceanic experience and across the board, across all cultures, right? There's this uniting element, right? That we all have within us that can be awakened through architecture, that heals, that transforms, that alchemizes, that helps us grow, but also helps us be, right? Step out of our ego, our lower ego, right? And be at one with the universe, with the land. This is very much the impulse of the sacred blueprint, Julio. This is the modality that I downloaded after huge breakdowns, and was guided by my spirit guides in the cosmos, in nature, to bridge spirit with form. And that these beings, Mother Nature, angels in the cosmos, I'm totally open. I speak openly about it. They are part of the design team. They are co-creating with us. And to understand that actually we are part of something greater, right? Bigger. And it just continues to amaze me what unfolds. And also the receptivity of now, I was talking to you earlier about younger architects and how they, have just come out of university, and a lot of them actually have this sacred seed within them already sparked, and they know that there's something wrong with conventional corporate architecture. I'm not saying all architecture offices are bad. I mean, that would be a broad sweeping statement. There's a lot of amazing companies and groups doing amazing work, but in general, they don't want to enter into the stress and the grind. You were talking about the body study, right? Can you imagine? You're creating architecture. Oh, and I would love for you to share some of your sketches. As I did this, I remembered before we close. Maybe even you can just start sharing and I'll continue
Yes.
just talking here. To I'm very interested in the state of the architect, and what state do we need to be stepping into? I love these images, Julio. Wow. What state do we need to be stepping into to really be able to build beauty and create sacred spaces? And I'm not saying that every single work of architecture needs to be sacred, right? Otherwise, then the sacred spaces would lose their potency. But yeah, there's a certain state. And if we are in a constant grind and hustle and stress, then we cannot generate, I don't care how quote unquote beautiful the architecture looks, right? You can feel the energy behind it when it is being drawn or conceived of. If the architect is full of stress or is an egomaniac, right? Or right, is just overwhelmed, overworked. What do you think about what I said?
There's so many answers. Well, there is no answers. There is an old proverb, a Jewish proverb that says, there is no answers. Seek it lovingly.
That's
I love
beautiful.
it. I think there is so many ways to this is a lot.
Oh my God, look at that one.
Patio de los Leones, the lion courtyard, which is incredible. You know the story of the Alhambra as the Spanish, the Catholic took over.
I haven't been there yet, by the way.
You gotta go.
I can't believe I haven't been there yet.
As the Catholic took over the Moors, the Islamic Moors, after 800 years, they were very angry, as you imagine, and these people are not very educated. They were just destroying everything. The story goes that when they entered Alhambra, they couldn't touch it because it was so beautiful. I mean, it's untouched to this day.
They just couldn't do anything.
Even with this, stupid religious fervor of hatred, they couldn't touch this most beautiful thing.
Wow.
Which shows the power of beauty, right? The power of true beauty. I think we are living in a civilizational transforming times in which I think young people and realize that the wisdom of the 20th century, which is still somewhat, running the world, like we're just talking about spiritual education or not spiritual education, are not good enough. Face what they had to face, from global warming to artificial intelligence to genetic engineering to overpopulation, and I mean, you name it, right? And of course, globalization. Young people intuitively know that the path is not a path of more is better or having but it's a path of being, right? So apparently, philosophically, there are three paths in life, right? Being, having, or doing, right? That's it. There is no more. I mean, you could unpack it, but that's it. And our society forces either doing or having, right? Consumerism or being active continuously without thought. Just do.
Right.
Whatever you just do.
Reacting.
Don't stop. Because if you stop, who knows what's going to happen, right? And if you stop, go and consume something. Well, being is at the center of the conversation, really. So I think young people at some level intuitively understand this. And I think some of us that have been longer in this planet realize that out of our own journeys and frankly, our testing, that having a new Mercedes-Benz will not make us happy, right? Or the new girlfriend or the new boyfriend will not make us happy. I mean, they can help, but in the end, it's my problem. I know it's not an egocentric problem. It's a problem of searching for something larger, right? So, so spirituality, that's what it speaks to. The way, and I think spirituality has an difficult situation because the right wing, the religious people see spirituality as left-wing appropriation or pseudo religion, right?
Right.
And
It's all
they're
very
really
fairy,
upset about it. I mean,
fluffy, rainbows, blah blah. Yeah.
tree huggers,
Smoothies.
voodoo stuff, dangerous stuff, sectarian sects,
Right. Or pagan stuff.
pagan
Right.
stuff. When
Yeah.
I was in Catholic University, I had to be very careful with that because I spoke spirituality.
Interesting.
I'm a Catholic. I mean, but people say, why do you say Catholic? Because it's bigger than Catholic. How come it can be bigger than Catholics?
Right.
Yes, because otherwise we wouldn't have Buddhists. Otherwise we wouldn't have Muslims because suddenly, but Christian is the only true faith. Well, for us it is.
Yeah.
But we have to be open
But what
to this.
about the rest of the world? Yeah.
And that's spiritual allows us to have a common conversation, right? So spiritual, and that on the left side, the opposite, spirituality is the opium of the people. It's not religion. It's even worse than religion because now religion we know is the opium of the people, but spirituality is more problematic because now you could actually convert some people that before they wouldn't, right? So you're caught between the right and the left, which means that you're caught in the right. You're in the right place because if both sides sees you wrong, there is something right about what you're doing, right? So spirituality is threefold, right? It's a connection. It's always something transcending the self. That's how it starts. It's transcending self. If it's not transcending self, it's not spiritual. It's transcending self. One is because there is a deity of some sort, or cosmic, or larger than you are, the creator, or the oneness, or being in general. Another one is community. The other in the kind of the communal ladder, either all living beings, life, nature, which a lot of people, that even atheists believe on this, protect life on earth, for instance, sustainability and stuff, or the communal, the good of everybody, social justice and so on. That's another way of pursuing spiritual activity without necessarily having a deity at hand. And the last one, which is the most controversial one, but I think is profound, is the divinity within, the non-self, the true self, the vocation, the deeper. And that's the kind of the one of the Buddhist tradition. One is more Christian, the other one is more, or Abrahamic, and the other one is more like
there are different streams,
secular versions.
Very deep.
But spirituality hit on all these version, and whatever you do, any of those are good, right? So
I love these.
So I think
I love the wisdom that you're sharing as these drawings are coming up. It's great. It's beautiful.
This is Lhasa. This is in Tibet. Wow. And it's a really quick drawing. This took me 5 minutes, and it's one of my favorites.
But it has essence. It's the essence drawing. Because when you overdraw it, also can't capture it sometimes. Yeah.
And we just got to walk this long with about 14,000 feet. It was so, it was cold, and even in the middle of the end of May. But when you're in this state, this is the Parthenon. I have a profound experience here. Profound experience. It was July. Here you have it, July 14, 2004, 11:20 p.m. It was so hot, Aisha. I mean, it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever, 40 Celsius.
Like, you went into like sweat lodge. You know how they do.
I wouldn't feel a thing. I didn't feel a thing. I mean, I was so given to her. I mean, I have a profound experience of awe and beauty there. And the drawing, I was in the zone. I was like, I didn't feel anything. It was people just, I mean, you've been to Greece. I mean, it's like Turkey, like in the middle of the summer,
Yeah. Wow. And you were unfazed. You were totally in the zone.
And again, I was not trying to prove anything. I was just in the zone, right? You are in this zone. And I think this is Karnak. Karnak is where, great Juhani Palasma. You heard about him, the Finnish architect.
Can you repeat?
Juhani Palasma?
Yes.
He's turning 90. It's a big party for him in September. He's one of the most, how we put this politely, most advanced human beings I ever known.
Wow.
Certainly an architect is incredible human being. an unbelievable clear. And talking about phenomenology, you know his books. A good friend of mine, I consider a friend of mine.
Wow.
But he shared with me, because for this profound experience when I did the survey, I had a long talk with him, and he shared with me, which is I'm writing a book on this external architecture experiences. His profound experience in Karnak, and that's when I was in Karnak. I don't know if you've been to Egypt. It's just
I've been to Egypt, but I haven't been to Karnak. Yeah, I would love to go.
You've seen the pyramids, though.
Yes.
Yeah. When you see the pyramids or these buildings, the Karnak or Hatshepsut, which by the way was done by a woman, a pharaoh, you realize that actually there has been very, very little development between what the Egyptians have done is the Greeks or the Romans have very little. I mean, it blows your mind, right? It's just incredible.
It's spirit technology. That's what I see it as.
And it's you can't believe it was built. And the whole discussion in the West, at least in the West, that it's all built by slaves is not true.
Yeah.
You cannot build that with forced labor or pain. There is some love there.
Something very profound that the humans had access to back then. Yeah.
Yeah, and no matter how much they explain how they build, it's a different story. This is the Muhammad Ali Mosque in Cairo. I'm not Muslim, and I had a.
I think I've been there. I was sitting in that courtyard. Yeah, it's so beautiful, that place.
It's just, I mean, incredible, absolutely incredible, incredible. And I think the last one is, this is me as I was in that little pavilion. Yeah, in Barcelona. I was there for 4 hours. Clock. I could not leave that place.
Yeah.
It was like, I still remember, like, if you see here, this here, the light hit.
Overhang thing?
Yeah, it light hit here and it bounced off. And you could see light on the, I mean, the detail there, the quality. And again, it's not intellectual. And then there was all these curtains that move with the wind. And Aisha, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the last one I think I have here to show today is this one, which just remind me totally to your Artemis story.
Yes.
This is Delphi, the Temple of Apollo.
Oh my God, I'm getting shivers. Yeah, I want to go there so much.
Which to get to Delphi is not trivial. You had to make, you really, you had to take whatever you get, then you had to take this bus, and then finally take the bus all the way up. I don't know if you've been to Delphi.
No, I haven't. Yeah, I had it.
And I get there
last year, but didn't happen.
There are 6 columns. There you go. That's all there is.
Yeah.
And another one encounter with lady architecture. I mean, a friend of mine had died.
You could feel her, right? Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine had died, very young, very good friend of mine. She had cancer. She fought it. And that night, that morning, get up and I received notice that she has passed away. And I was just so sad because she was an architect, incredible architect. I taught with her.
Wow.
She fought it. She was a wonderful human being. And I went to Delphi. We're just there. And I sat there. And of course, the oracle was there, right? Back in the time. It is said that, even Alexander went there and asked, right? Great Alexander. And I asked the oracle, I entered in meditation and asked the oracle, what's the point of life? I mean, when you lose somebody you love and he was in her 40s. I mean, all life ahead, as bright as it gets. What the freaking point is?
Point of life. Yeah.
What are we just here just to what? And you know what? And after a while, you know what the oracle told me? And it came very clear to this day. Being is enough.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, you could cry on this.
Yeah, you could really cry on this.
You could cry on this.
So profound.
And in being is enough. And it is enough. We put all this stuff on ourselves. We just have all this, ought to do this, ought to do that. I do this and no, don't do that. Just be. But of course, it's easy to say. To really be is a tall order, right? But being is enough. And, and you look at that, yes, absolutely. big, and that's what the architecture could do. They said the architecture of happiness by this de Botton, the book.
Yes, I remember that book. Yeah.
And basically saying architecture just remind you to be, basically.
To be. Yeah.
Just be.
Just be.
Zen is the same thing. Just be present.
Just be.
Or, all the great traditions, Sufis.
I love what you're sharing, Julio. It's incredible too, the parallels that I have witnessed in the women architects that I've guided through the temples of Ephesus, and particularly at the Temple of Artemis. They received the same message. Just be. And what's beautiful too is that the Artemis goddess in Ephesus is actually represented by the bee, the bumblebee. So it's beautiful. Just be, the honey, the sweetness of life, and just be. And watch how the alignment in your life comes through that state of being, through that sacred walk, right? In your relationships with people, in the way you practice architecture, the way you connect with the world. This is so profound. Wow, Julio, amazing. Thank you for sharing those stunning drawings. And just even drawing on site is just one of the most peaceful and
for the longest time I'm going out again to Europe because of this talk, and we're in Sweden. Every time I go into these trips in the past, I have never take photos. I only draw. And I had an exhibition which I did a few years back, which is the idea of drawing as a contemplative practice. Because when you draw, if you really draw, it's not whether the drawing is good or bad. Some of the drawings I'm showing, of course, they're good drawings, and I pick them. And there are some drawings that are really bad drawings, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what is good or bad. You are there. It's like when you sit in meditation or pray. It doesn't matter if it's a good or bad session. The fact that you sat there and devote yourself to that connection, that's good enough. And the practice itself move you forward. So, I think drawing is a contemplative practice.
I love it, Julio. So beautiful. Well, I would love to do a part 2 someday with you. And we're going to see each other at the Mind Body Space conference in Amsterdam. So I'm just planting that seed, supporting the amazing groups that are putting together that conference. So Julio will be speaking at that conference, and that's July. Well, I'm going to be there July 9th.
I think it's the 6th. I don't want to speak.
So it starts.
I think it's the 6th or the 10th.
No, you're also later on the 10th. Aren't you on the Friday as well?
I'm on the Thursday all day.
Anyway.
And there's a couple of things I had to look, but it's a Thursday, whatever that day is.
Everyone check out the Mind Body Space conference. We're giving a shout out to that event, which will be in July. You can Google that. And Julio, where can my community find your books? We're going to share all of Julio's website and his LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook pages, so you'll see them all down in the captions below. Can we find your book?
Yeah, in Amazon. Just type. Yeah, you can just.
Can we find it on Amazon?
If you put my name and boot books, they come out.
I'll be sure to list the names of the books in the captions below. So Transcending Architecture and Spirituality in Architectural Education.
Yeah, and Architecture, Culture, Spirituality. That's the other one.
Fantastic.
These books are out of love.
I love it. That's great. Beautiful.
Aisha, it has been such a pleasure to meet you.
Such a pleasure to meet you too.
Look forward to continuing our conversations in the future. And I see you in Amsterdam in less than a month.
I know.
It's 3 weeks or something.
Very soon, and it was a spontaneous decision for me, and I'm really excited to meet you in person and connect with other architects in the flesh. The Zoom and the video and all that can get tiring after a while. So it's like, yay, let's meet people in person, in the flesh. Yeah. All right, Julio, it was great to connect. And,
thank you.
Until next time.
Till next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
It's time to rise and unite your two sides. The determined, go-getter, high-achieving architect with the wild, nature-loving energy healer. You're fed up with the grind and stress of conventional practice and are ready to come out of hiding and unleash your feminine magic to birth the temples of our future by partnering with the spirit of the land. Hi, I'm Aisha Rose. I'm an architect on a bold mission to help humanity awaken and heal by bridging spirit with form. After over 20 years of leading a distinguished career in architecture and successfully working with land energetics, I birthed the Sacred Blueprint, a revolutionary, unconventional approach helping you to design the optimal blueprint for your clients' dream sanctuaries while opening the way for smooth project planning. Now I'm thrilled to share my unparalleled expertise and cutting-edge tools with you so you lead a prospering, spirit-led architecture practice while attracting overflows of abundance, radiant health, creative ease, and divine match clients while making a powerful impact on Earth. Introducing the Sacred Blueprint Certification Program, a proven spiritual energetic property design system that will outlast AI and equip you with all you need to know to leverage your intuitive gifts with architecture. Nothing like this exists out there. The Sacred Blueprint is a call from Mother Earth. This is the next evolutionary pulse and a groundbreaking movement for high-achieving, spirit-conscious women architects that will put you miles ahead as a leader and help heal the planet. Apply now.